I was going to make a different kind of video, but I'm going to make this kind of video. Listening. Let's just talk about listening for a moment. You know, the question is, on the spiritual path, what's the voice that we're listening to? What is it? And is it real? And is it true? And is it guiding us in the right way? Or is it attacking? Is the voice of false self? Is it the voice of the, unconsciously inherited mother and father? Is it the voice of authority that we somehow imagine? Is it the voice of fear? Is it the voice of control? What's the voice that we're listening to here? Or maybe there's a listening to a deeper voice, because that's what the invitation of this video is. The noise that we're born into, if you like, the matrix, the constellation, the whole of the morality, the whole of the society, the whole of the play, the Leela, really is predicated on a lot of noise, a lot of opinion, a lot of information, a lot of knowledge, some of it useful, most of it not. And now in this day and age, with the internet, there are voices about everything, the voices of influence. All you have to do is look and listen and you hear it. And that influences us. In many ways, the more unconscious we are, the more we're going to follow whatever voice happens to be speaking to us, almost in any moment. But it's not the voice of the deepermost. It's not the voice of true intuition. I would say that to really listen to the deepest voice and to move from that deepest place, one has to get incredibly silent, ultimately. The more silent we can become, the more quiet we can become, the more still we can become, the more we can turn that listening to within. So the voices on the surface, the neurotic ego, the agitated ego, the false self, the struggling, striving, desperate, controlling, angry, fearful self, whatever it is, however it manifests, it kind of becomes quieter and quieter as it sort of almost falls into the distance. The voices of false authority. It's incredible when you really think how maybe us and those who aren't up for examining themselves and really looking at who they are, inherit all of these voices, these influences of mummy, daddy, grandparent, grandmother, the voices of authority, the voices of teachers, the voices of religious figures who have been influencing, and the whole cultural milieu and the whole of the influence on the self easily manifest because we absorb it so much unwittingly when we're young. They become voices in our head that we listen to, that we think are ours, but they're not ours. We haven't actually, in many ways, made up our minds, because our minds so often have been made up for us by, the downloads that we've received, and the kind of coping mechanisms that we've adopted in order to survive, particularly when we're very young. so much of our worth, so much of our authority, so much of our decision making, when left unexamined, has voices of other players in it. It's not the still, silent, quiet voice within. We've lost that. Our intuition is offline. It's like a ghost in the machine somewhere. And so in order to, but our real power, our true power, it comes from union, comes from inner harmony. But that true authority, that true power cannot be found unless we're prepared to go in and fall into silence, discover an ever deeper silence, and listen to the voice within. Listen to the hunch. Listen to the nudge, the intuition, the voice that says yes, the voice that says no, and not to override it. When the voice says no, if you've got silent enough to know it, then you have to trust it. To feel what it's like to trust the inner voice rather than the neurotic mind that's just full of division. This is a practice. It's not a place. It's not oh, I've got it now. It's like developing that aspect of us, because it's innate in us. This is innate. This that I'm talking of is innate but forgotten, innate but covered over, innate but ignored in the noise. We're listening almost out there rather than listening deeply in here. We're listening. I include this as out there. Listening to the mind that's filled up, the emotional mind and the mind, filled up with tape loops and other people's voices and all of these influences. And that I should be this, and self-worth issues and shame and, denial, and all of these things are the voices that we listen to. Why do we do that? Why would you listen to a voice that torments you? Why would you listen to a voice that insults you? If you wouldn't take it from somebody else, maybe we would, but if you wouldn't take it from somebody else, why do you take it from yourself? And believe it to be so. We sort of split ourselves up. A lot, we split ourselves up. And so this is my call to coming back, to start really looking at what we listen to. What voice are we listening to? And to really explore that and to say, well, and that voice has got a history. That voice is coming from the past. That voice actually has remnants of my father in it. That voice is, I've heard my father in my voice millions of times in all sorts of situations. I'm like, that's not me. That's my father. So, it's like we have to be kind of careful because we've adopted others as us. So we're not actually our true self. We're a multi-self, a composite of many other actors, many other influences, all sort of jigsawed together as this. But it's not really essential. It's not the essential truth. It's a composite, a conglomerate, a jigsaw made of many aspects. No wonder we get pulled. No wonder we feel so pulled this way, that way, that way. And we're not incomplete because we're a composite of other influences. And whilst that's kind of almost inescapable because of the nature of the dualistic world and the nature of growing up as an individuation in form with the influences of the family, when that composite is just who we really think we are and are convinced that we are and unconsciously just move from that composite, then eventually we're going to just get in trouble. Either we'll be unhappy, or we'll, cause trouble, or carry the trouble that we've inherited. We'll just carry it on through our lives. So, that's the point in finding the deepest aspects of ourselves, so that we're not coming from the composite. We're not coming from the jigsaw composite consciousness. We're no longer defined by who we've become. We're no longer defined by the influences of all the others, such as they are. Some of them good, some of them negative, yada yada. There's no value judgment here in what I'm saying. I'm just saying, knowing that, or even believing a little bit of that, why would we endlessly listen to the voice of a composite, of a player, of an actor, which is what we are ultimately? Go inside, the deeper we go inside and find something more true and listen to a deep voice inside, eventually we come into a kind of harmony that is us, truly us as the individual, unique expression of consciousness that we are, influenced somewhat by the environment, by the culture, by the family, by the, whatever it is that's kind of influenced us. Yes, an expression of my individuality is this, in its imperfection and its perfection, in its ragged brokenness, in its way of being, arising of temporary form. But that's not entirely the picture. That's just a fragrance of the flower, but it's not the essential flower. The essential flower is this silence, is this awareness, is this consciousness, is this openness. And in that relationship between formless and form, so we're able to listen to a deeper movement and follow the impulse, follow the intuition, follow the thread. It doesn't have to be precious, it just has to be sort of natural and real and true. Nothing forced here. Yeah, nothing forced, everything natural, just falling and falling and falling into this deepest silence with a capacity to listen deeply to what's being, what's arising, what's incoming.